Coming to you from the U.S. and streaming all over the world. This is Shotgun Sports USA. Get accurate, reliable information in every single episode, with interviews from the best shooters in the game, the best gun clubs across the globe, and industry-leading companies that revolutionize the sport. Be sure to check us out on social media and online at shotgunsportsusa.com. Shotgun Sports USA is powered by Winchester Ammunition, the American legend, and brought to you by Cole Gunsmithing, Castellani USA, Chromatic Traps, Clay Target Vision, Sound Gear Phantom, and Clay Shooter Supply. Welcome to the show.
My guest on the show today was the shoot chairman at the 2022 National Championship. We discussed numbers, how many targets were thrown, how many people attended the Super Squad, and the changes already in place for next year's Nationals. Are you going to Texas State in 23? We talk about that also. Welcome back, Neil Chadwick. Neil, welcome to the show again.
Well, thanks, Justin. It's your good old Australian buddy.
You know, I wanted to do this episode because we've been beating the Super Squad like a dead horse, and this will be the final episode I'm going to talk about it, unless it gets brought up again by somebody else. Hopefully, this is the last time. Anyway, I wanted to ask you about it because you were part of it. You're the reason the green course was set like it was. You may not have said it, but you're part of the reason it was set like it was. You said it would be the hardest course. All right. You said there wasn't going to be nearly as many carts on the course as there were.
Me and Mark we had a bet. He said there'll be about 12 carts. I said, no, there'll be more than 50. I won the bet.
Oh, yeah. You won the bet for sure. So I want to talk about it from the start. How you think it turned out? Did it turn out to the way you wanted it to turn out? And then we'll go all the way through the shoot and end up at the Texas State. How did you think the Super Squad was?
I thought it was pretty amazing. It's a brilliant idea. I'm glad we did it again. You know, we did it a few years back, and it didn't take off that well. But I think this time, because we had the added cameras, live streaming, the amazing job that you two did. Yeah. However you talked for that long, I don't know. You're a better man than I am because I can't talk for that long. But the excitement that it caused and discussions going on with the groups following the ladies and the gents around as they were going around. It was just amazing. I was down there trying to control traffic. I gave up after 5 minutes. I couldn't control the traffic. They were all over the place. So I got time to watch some of the shooters on some of those stands. And the Super Squad is just a brilliant idea. I think it brings in a different perspective on our game. And it's funny, you know, because they're all shooting against each other, and you can see them all fist bumps as they come out the stands. And I bet you that somebody's going, God dang, I wish I'd have hit that one.
Yeah, well, you know, I kind of brought that up on the live stream. You know, how is it to turn around and look, the guy behind you is very capable of hitting every single one of them, and you just drop one. What kind of mindset does that put you in, you know?
Right. I mean, the atmosphere was just amazing, and you guys you were sat there for nearly all of that Sunday, and you must have seen it with people backwards and forwards past you because you were near the entrance end. You know, what did you see?
And we've talked about this before. Trying to watch the monitor of the shooters down through the course, and then watching the people coming back to you. You know, at the last station at 10 where I was sitting. You know, trying to keep up with all of that. Watching the traffic is what blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like, it was unbelievable at the amount of people. I've never seen that many people anywhere at a shoot, and I've been to a lot of them in one place. You know what I mean? Like watching this one thing going on. I mean, have you seen that before?
not that bad. I mean, we've seen it before, and especially along that yellow course road. And that course is the narrowest course for getting off either side of the road, as you can see.
Mm-hmm.
We can't go too far onto that north side of the yellow, because that brings us then within 300 yards of the FITAS, which is on the dozen, which you can see across the other side of the field, across that creek bed. There's not much room to play there with the 300-yard distance from either of those. So we couldn't get too far off the road. On the south side, on the side where the bushes are, because, well, they're just little holes. You couldn't move them forward. It would just, again, that would just be a traffic chaos if people were trying to drive up those little alleys in their buggies, you know. But so, yeah, I agree with you. It was, it worked out well in the end, but my worry was sort of keeping the squads together, with them being able to move from one station to the next without getting held up in the traffic jam.
Yeah, we'll have to. I think that between you and Mark and whoever else is over it next year, I think you'll figure out a way to control that a little better. But it was cool to see it. I think it was neat just to see the amount of interest. I don't care if there's a million carts out there. It was still,
yeah.
And I think that's what made part of it as exciting as it was seeing all the people. And I don't know that I have given credit to Joe Skull. Isn't he the one that set the course?
Joe did an amazing job on that.
I don't know that I've said that, but he did a great job on that course.
Yep. We sat down. When we all get there, we all sit down, and I have a meeting with them all. And I laid out the plan. I said, look, we're going to have one course, and when I knew it would be green, because we'd already planned on green being the Super Squad Sunday. So I said, I want to make the green a little bit tougher, and then we'll make one of the other three a little bit easier.
Right.
Okay. And they all knew where they were. Henry was on red, Jason was on orange, and Nathan was on yellow. Still keep wanting to call it green, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And Joe did just a fantastic job. We got together and tweaked 3 stations.
Which stations were those? Do you remember?
Oh, I know.
Which ones were they? Tell us, because nobody knows.
2.
Okay.
That was that pair of crossing targets. Your buddy Jason keeps calling them chandelles. They're not chandelles. They were crossing targets.
Right, from the right.
Yeah, and 7, the tower from the left-hand side.
Yep.
And then 8, the notorious midi chandelle from the left-hand side.
Yeah. Okay, well, that one's the one that got number 1 and number 7. No, number 8, which is the chandelle, the midi. Got me. So.
Yeah. So on 2, Joe had them coming out basically at the same level. We tweaked that, and there was a right and the wrong way to shoot that station.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch most people, the first target you saw was actually the wrong target to shoot. Right?
Okay.
That was the one that, I'm not saying it appeared closer, it was a little bit closer, but it was the higher of the 2.
Mm-hmm.
And your natural instinct is that's the first target out, shoot that one. If you did, you were totally out of position to shoot the second target, right? If you could just hang on and watch the second one come out, which was slightly lower and behind the first one, you could shoot the second one, and your gun was almost in perfect position then to shoot the first one.
Yeah, well, I shot the tall one first.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wrong. That was wrong.
Hey, I hit him though.
Yeah.
I must have adjusted really good.
And I'm not saying that you'd miss, but it would be easier to miss that. I watched who was it? Byron. Byron was in the shout, and I watched him on station 2. He dropped 2 on there, which was surprising. All those top guys should be able to shoot them either way round.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got to understand that the green course, they weren't all hard targets.
No.
We had to put some on there for everybody else. That was one of my big concerns, If I was straight out the gate and I had to start on green, which obviously some people did, you could go away with your tail between your legs thinking, I ain't going to do this anymore.
I think that all the time, Neil.
So that was my biggest concern, and that's really one of the reasons that we did the podcast just before Nationals, so that like we could get the word out that this course is going to be tough, which it was. But anyway, I think they got over that. People realized that this is the tough course, so that they came off of that course with an expectation of, well, I did pretty good. I shot whatever their score was, and then they could look forward to the other three courses, knowing not necessarily that the pressure was off, but the targets would not be like that on the other three courses.
So on that Thursday, when people shot that course first, I didn't even look at it. How was the targets versus the Sunday?
It was interesting. I listened to the interview you did with Johnny Carter, TGS, and one of his comments was that he looked at those targets and thought, "Oh, English style." Do you remember that? He said that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Bit more pace, a little bit more distance, some more angle, a little bit of angle on them. Really, there wasn't many targets on that course that were wind affected, because a lot of them had quite a bit of pace on them, which powers them through the wind. Even on Station 8, when that wind turned a little bit to the northwest, it really didn't affect that midi, that orange midi from the left-hand side. And that was a tall target, flat on against the wind from the northwest, and it blew it obviously towards the east a little bit, but really not that much so that you would notice.
I'll have to say I've never shot at a target like that. I've shot at a target like that, but not that high. Like it was way up there.
Yeah. Well, of course, it was a midi.
Yeah.
And that was the one that we'd changed. We looked at that. That midi was originally in the same position on the right-hand side of the cage.
Mm-hmm.
And the middies that they'd got for us had black bottoms, orange top, black bottom. And that 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, when the sun was more to the west behind you, and you've seen it before on the underside of those middies, you get that sheen, that shine.
Yep.
And we looked at that and went, damn it, I can't do that. We can't leave that like that for these guys. I mean, it was a tough target, even obviously from the right-hand side.
Yeah.
So that prompted us to move it to the left-hand side. And that's why that was the left-hand side and was orange. And I would prefer to have had it orange like it was than shine on the right-hand side and partially disappear. You know what that shine does to targets.
Yeah.
So that was other one. That was another one that we changed, and it looked a lot better from the left-hand side, showing you orange.
Yeah, yeah. I thought the whole course was good. Like I said, I haven't told Joe on a podcast that he did a good job, but he did. I like everything Joe ever says. I've always liked his target. So
yeah, he did a great job. He did a great job.
We've talked about this as well, but knowing the scores through the Super Squad was a big deal, and I know that. You and your company, Long Range, are pretty nifty when it comes to electronics, and I think you have an idea for next year that's going to keep everybody informed with that.
Just a quick mention. One of the comments that I heard was we didn't know what the score was as the Super Squads were going around, either the ladies or the guys.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's got me thinking about it, and what I'm looking to do is putting a screen on a pole, if that makes sense, that somebody can carry it around and have a tablet, and to make it simple, they put 4 lines up on the screen, Justin, Neil, Zach, and Brandon, and have one score, not the whole score line, but their possible score. So they would start off with their 3 courses plus 75, and then it would be easier for the person that was operating it, and I can build into the software just a button that says miss, and it would deduct 1 off of the scoreboard, and that scoreboard would follow that squad. And then Mark's camera guys could easily pan up to that. You could look at it from where you were sitting, and it would give you what their current possible score could be. It's easier that way. If you did it with, you wanted somebody, remember, you've got to have somebody holding this thing all the time and carrying it along. It's easier to just press 1 button for misses than keep having to press all the button or button more than once for hits. So a countdown system is easier than a count up. If somebody's pressing, did I press it 3 times or what? Typically, they're going to press it 1 for 1 miss, and it deducts that from the count.
Yeah.
Just an idea. If I can do it, we'll probably probably do it next year's Super Squad.
Yeah, roll it out. The course difficulty, as you said in the podcast before the Nationals, that the green course is going to be the hardest, and one would be the easiest, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Did that change? Yeah. Did that change at all throughout the week?
No, that worked out perfect. See, let me give you some numbers. What I do for these numbers, and a lot of people will perhaps not agree with me, but I take the whole score from Master through E, take out the scores where people didn't finish because they put zeros in there, which would give a bias to the data. Then I work out what the average score was, and then do it as a percentage. So, for example, green course, which was the hardest, that had a percentage of 60.91, which means if it was a 100-bird course, it wasn't, it was 75. But if it was a 100-bird course, on average, the score would be 60-61, which is low, because I keep all these numbers. That was particularly hard. But then if we made a conscious decision, then at the opposite end of the scale, red was going to be the easiest course. That percentage is 77.4. So you can see that on a 100-bird course, the red course shot 17 targets easier than the green course.
It didn't for me, but yeah, I get it.
And Henry did a good job on that. It surprised me, really. He had one hard bird, station 1, the right-hand Batu. It was he was on the south side of red. The Batu machine was forward and down to your right-hand side. The ground sloped away slightly, and he threw it and curled it up and over, and it landed in the big field behind that hedge.
Okay.
That was tough.
Yeah.
The one that surprised me, though, that I watched a lot of people miss was his station 8, which was the 70 millimeter off the tower on your right-hand side. A lot of people misread that and overled that. It really was. It was an in-your-face target, and it was a lot of people I saw, like I say, overled it. I thought that was. I mean, it wasn't a difficult target, and it wasn't put on as a difficult target. Anyway, back to the story. That was by far the easiest course. And then Jason and Nathan's green, orange, and yellow standard type courses, and both of those really came out. Their percentage average on orange was 73.3, and on yellow was 73.5. So you could see then that those two courses, although they were different backgrounds, obviously the yellow course had a lot of open space, and Nathan did a great job there. A lot of variety, some with a little bit of distance, a lot with not much distance, but plenty of room to shoot them. Jason then in those bushes and those trees, again, the odd one that caught everybody out was his station 6. Again, that was a 70 thrown with a midi. And I watched a lot of people miss that 70 again. To get an average of the whole shoot on the mains, the average was 71.3.
Okay.
So you go, okay, I nearly said that word. What does that mean? That was actually the second easiest course in the last 5 years. So it wasn't hard. It wasn't a hard setup. People shot it well. They shot green well. They shot the other 3 courses well. The only one that beat that was, again, where we made a conscious decision during COVID in 2020, where the average there was 71.6, basically the same thing. So that 2020 course just beat this one by about half a target for being easier. So, I was pretty pleased with that, the way that turned out. I don't think anybody can complain about that. About the target difficulty there.
Now, talk about the number of targets thrown. This is what's always interesting to me at Nationals, is the amount of targets you've thrown, the show pairs that were thrown and seen, the real number of entrants.
You see, you always get 2 odd numbers. The total entrants was 23 something. Okay. Number of entries in the main was 1938. So that, you get a lot of people that come in and they'll shoot, they just come in and shoot the sub gauge because they like shooting sub gauge, or they kind of come in and shoot the 100-bird K Cup or just the FITAS or just the Super Sporting. So it's surprising that there's almost 400 people that do that come in to shoot other events, but don't want to shoot the main.
Yeah.
That's just amazing, really. We put out about 2,200,000 targets.
Say that one more time.
2,200,000.
My goodness. That's crazy. That's I don't know that I've ever heard a number that big with targets, for sure. So how many of those were show pairs?
You want another mind-blowing number?
Yeah.
250,000.
So there's 250,000 of them just sitting out there that's never been shot at.
Correct.
Wow.
The actual number is 254,000.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, you got to think about that for a second. Think about the 200 or the 250,000 targets that were put in these machines by these guys just to throw up so you can look at.
Yeah.
I mean,
never shot at.
Yeah, never shot at. These guys loaded 250,000 targets for you to watch.
250,000 targets. That's more targets than a lot of smaller clubs throw in a year. I got another bunch of numbers for you.
All right, what is it?
That 254,000 targets that we didn't shoot at is more targets than the British Open and the English Open combined throw in their competitions.
That's crazy. That's nuts. So do you compare this shoot with any other shoot to get numbers?
Yep, I do. Because I got a fairly good, and the numbers really only mean something to me because I know how I work them out, and whether that is a statistical correct or incorrect, it gives me a number of how easy or difficult roughly that particular shoot is. If we look at the other shoot that obviously I was involved in was World English back in April. And the percentage on that for those 200 targets was 67.6. Okay, well, that's certainly tougher than we threw at Nationals, which was that 71 number. And if you look at that, so, okay, all right, what else can I look at? US Open. Well, that must have been tough because everybody told me it was tough.
Right.
Well, it weren't really. That had the average for the US Open was 67.3. So within 0.3 of the targets that we threw at World English.
Yeah, if you listen to people talk about that, you wouldn't think it would be that high.
But unfortunately, it's the presentation. Okay. And that's just averages numbers. So, at its human nature, you get beat up on a station. I've got a question for you.
All right.
US Open,
mm-hmm.
DT11, Station 11.
Well, you have to tell me which one that was.
That was the hardest mother.
Well, they were all hard to me on DT11, but I don't remember which one that was. Was that the tower?
Apparently, and I wasn't there, Justin, so I wasn't there. So it was the tower in front of you a bit, left-hand side, throwing them away from you.
Yeah.
Okay. So my question to you is, out of the 456 masterclass shooters,
mm-hmm.
how many of those people shot a zero on that stand?
30%.
30%?
Yeah.
Oh, you're pretty good.
What is it?
It's actually 26.
Oh, there you go.
123 masterclass shooters never touched a bird on that stand. And it's like us talking about it now. Everybody remembers that one.
Mm-hmm.
It was so hard. But that particular stand turns everything into being so hard.
Yeah. Hardest course I've ever shot. That's what they say. That's what they say. If you zero that stand, that's the toughest course I've ever shot.
Yeah. But if you look at the numbers, it was the complete courses with the same difficulty as the World English we threw in April.
That's interesting. That's interesting stats right there.
Problem is that shooters get it in their head that that's hard. I'm not going back there again, and I think we need to address something like that. There is no reason on earth to throw two extremely hard targets on a stand. I mean, throw one, but make one at least gettable, if you know what I mean. And that's just me. Rick sets some great targets and he does them the way he wants to do them. But
yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it all. I enjoy going to all of them. I like seeing different stuff. And and I look at it like this at the end of the day, I'm not the only one shooting at those targets. So if I'm missing and I'm shooting my best, then somebody else is going to do the same thing.
Right.
You know.
At the end of the day, though, Justin, you've got to agree that we want all of those people to come back again next year. There's two ways to look at it. And it's and we can discuss it all the way, for hours. I don't think there's a right and a wrong way, because I firmly believe that we've got to throw tough targets to keep our teams competitive against the UK. France is coming up now in world competition. I mean, and the Americans are the best in world competition at the moment. Everybody knows that.
Courses for next year. Are you going to keep everything the same at nationals? Are you going to move something, change something? Have you even thought about that yet?
Yeah, I think about it all the time. The super squads will go back to Old Green, which is in the open field.
A lot more room.
Yeah, a lot more room, so we can get the buggies in there. It won't be so crowded. I've already spoken to Mark, and at that end of the course, Station 10 faces south. So we will flip-flop that so that Station 10 is on the north side, which would be where 1 starts this year, so that the sun is more favorable for him to shoot, film rather than not shoot. He's already looking at doing some stuff, running permanent cables. They had a little bit of trouble with their wireless networks there. You must have seen the video where the video stutters, stops and starts a little bit, and he was unhappy with that. So he wants to put that right for next year. He's talking about more cameras next year.
Yeah.
And he's an amazing guy. He really is. If he says he's going to do it, he does it. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But as far as moving courses or changing events around, like I think I've told you before, it's so difficult to do because all the main event courses are 10 stations and everything else is 13.
Yeah.
So I can't take a 10 station course and put it on K-Cup, where K-Cup was, for example, and take K-Cup and shoehorn it in where 10 stations were on the main. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So there won't be much change really as far as where the courses go. We flip-flop Super Sport in between that, the road against 471 and the dozen. So I think I'm down on 471 with Fitas next year and Brent with Super Sport, and we'll be back on the dozen.
Tell people what that is.
Oh, that's the very northernmost skeet fields. And it's called the dozen because there's 12 skeet fields on there.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to clear it up for people so they know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I hear a dozen, I get to think about donuts.
Yeah. And it's quite often called the dirty dozen because, and you've probably seen it, and I know hundreds of people have seen it, when we get rain down there, those skeet fields are just a mess. That's why we keep the buggies off of that grass on the skeet fields and park them outside on the road. But I know people have shot in that, and the mud just clings to your boots. So it's called the dirty dozen.
Yeah. 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 Now, are you changing? Is there going to be any rule changes or anything next year?
One of my pet peeves, and I did put a proposal into, I guess you'd call it the Rules Committee or the EC. And I know I've heard that EC are going to discuss it at their, I guess, February meeting. It would be end of January, February, about introducing a time between shots. Currently, we've got no rule that says you have to take. There's no rule to give you any time between first and second shots. If you follow me, empty your gun, load your gun, shoot. FITAS is currently 15 seconds. CPSA is currently 10 seconds. I don't think the EC will probably go for 10 because they might step up to the plate, but I'm hoping that they'll come back with at least 15 seconds. We timed people at the US Open, and we had people at 42 and 43 seconds between shots.
What?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't think it'd be that long.
Yeah. And what prompted me to do it was last Nationals. and they're great guys. We had a squad from Mexico. We have lots of people coming over from Mexico, but it was a squad of 4, and they all took 35, 40 seconds, all of them. So now I'm getting squads behind. So do I now jump the squad ahead of them? Do I go and talk to them? So I go and talk to them. You do? Can you speed it up? I know speak English. Oh. Andale. No, that's not right. Vite. No, that's not right. Okay, carry on. Squad behind, jump in front. So I know that they'll be talking about that. Another one that caused a little bit of controversy at this Nationals was coaching. I believe EC again, Executive Council, is going to discuss it and see what can be introduced as far as coaching. And there's various forms of coaching. You know, if you're shooting and somebody standing back in the crowd goes, "You missed it in front," or "You missed it behind," is that coaching? Well, not really,
Right.
because they don't know they're standing back there. I think we're really talking about where somebody gets in the cage with somebody else and goes, "Okay, you know, hold your gun back a little bit and move faster, or pick the target up here," and in their form of coaching, sort of disrupts the running of the shoot. And I've seen people do it before, but if we introduce a time rule, let's say 10 seconds or 15 seconds, I don't think the person would get the opportunity to be in the cage coaching their son, daughter, wife, husband, whatever it might be, because there's no time. So hopefully Executive Council will discuss that and probably come up with a good rules definition of what coaching is and isn't.
Now, who is going to keep the time? The trapper?
Well, it's going to be one of those things. But the trapper would, yes. Obviously, he's the referee. I hate calling them trappers. They're not trappers. They're referees.
Okay, whatever you want to call them. Referees then. Are they going to have a stopwatch? What are they going to do?
No. You soon know if somebody's going over the time. I mean, it's like a FITAS referee, 15 seconds. You get it built in. The referee on FITAS is not standing there watching his stopwatch, but if somebody drags it out to 20 seconds, referee goes, "Oh, something's going on," you know, and he might get his stopwatch out of his pocket. If they change it to 15 seconds, is he going to be there with his 15? Sorry, you lose a target. I mean, you've got to be sensible. It's 15 seconds. Okay, I'm sorry, I was 17. Oh, you were 20. Okay, well, just watch your timing, sir. You know, you're a little bit long between shots. If you could speed it up, that would really help moving things along a little bit. I certainly don't, unless it's a flagrant violation, I don't see people necessarily taking targets away. But there needs to be a rule to speed some of these squads up.
Well, next year after this, we'll move on to the Texas State. But next year, I know you've had people call you or text you or whatever it was, telling you that they were going to come next year simply because they watched the coverage, the live coverage, which I think is pretty neat, you know. And I'm going to venture out to say now that next year's Nationals will be the largest.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind betting. Like I told you earlier on, I was talking to my distributor in Australia, Dean, great guy, loves to shoot, and I'm not sure he saw the final cut of the Super Squads. He watched the live one, and he also saw Johnny Carr's, and he said, "Man, it's gone all around Australia." He said, "We're getting a group of us to come over next year." I went, "Yes, that's perfect. That's, that's what we want."
Yeah. It's going to be the biggest next year. You watch.
Okay, we'll have a bet on it, shall we?
You want to bet it's not going to be?
No, but you're adamant that it's going to be. I'll say that we won't beat the 2,307.
Okay. As long as COVID-2 or something else don't come out, you know.
Right. All right, I'll have $1 with you.
Yeah. All right, so talk about Texas State. I know you're doing that in 23 in April. That's going to be at the National Shooting Complex as well.
Yes. Yes.
For the people going, I want to kind of bring it up a little bit, let you hear about what's going to be going on. Kind of go into that a little bit, Neil.
Okay, Texas State in April. It's not always at NSC. It's every other year. So last year was Defender. Travis's place.
Mm-hmm.
This April will be San Antonio, and then the following year it's going to be at Henry's place, Greater Houston. So I was talking with Ben, and he caught me at Nationals. Now you've got to bear in mind that there is only one less event at the Texas State than there is at Nationals, and that's the 5-stand. The 5-stand at Texas State is all one, so it's Master through E, not Master AA, A through E. So there's one less event. And Ben said, can you change it around so that we don't shoot the main event on the main event road? Really? So I said, are you sure, Ben? He went, well, yeah, because otherwise it looks too much like Nationals. Okay. So I thought about it and did it.
All right. Well, tell me how you're going to do that. What have you moved around to do that?
Well, okay. Initially, they'd advertised FITAS as new style. So I told him, I said, for 250 people, you don't need to do new style FITAS. Oh, okay. So I got him to agree to change from new style to 4 layouts of old style FITAS, which takes up a hell of a lot less room. So then I moved stuff around. So the 3 main events will be where Super Sporting was this year, mm-hmm. on what we call 471. That's the bit along the main road there.
Yep.
On the dozen where I put FITAS this year, there'll be another main event there. And then the 3rd main event will be where the K-Cup was.
That'll be neat.
Yeah. So they won't shoot anything on that main event road, which is what they asked for.
So nothing's going to be on main event road.
Oh yeah. Prelim,
okay.
FITAS, and Super Sporting will be down that main event road.
That'll be neat. So, be different.
Yeah, I just wanted to get that out there because I know, we get tremendous support from Texas State. 1,000+ people from Texas and from outside of Texas as well. Of course, they would come and shoot it. But so I thought that was a good deal to try and change that around as much as I could. It'll basically look totally different. I mean, it won't look different. It will be different because everything's changed around. So they won't recognize it as Nationals, which is good.
Yeah,
which is good. We'll probably have that matrix on again for them.
Mm-hmm.
That shot very well. That shot more rounds on the matrix than Make or Break did. So that'll be good. We'll put a good show on for Texas State.
Yeah, well, good. That was a good idea by Ben to change it up. Yeah. Maybe not for you, but I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah. He's full of bright ideas, is Ben. So, you going to be back next year?
Yes, the plan, as long as everything's good.
We covered a lot of stuff there, Justin. I hope it wasn't a lot of drivel for you. I like numbers, and it just sort of proved a point that it was the shoot really wasn't that hard. Green was hard, and I told everybody that it would be.
Well, hey, while you're talking about that, Braxton Oliver shot 73 out of 75 on that course.
I know.
Okay, well, he must have been doing his homework because that was a great score. The highest score on that course for sure.
Yeah, and it was unbelievable. But if you don't let that type of target intimidate you, the other one was, okay, so our 2 winners, and let's congratulate all the winners, Zach and Halen and everybody else that won the other events. I mean, really good job, guys and ladies. But I just turned up at the right time to watch Halen shoot stand 8 on the green course. She never missed one of them chandelles. And then Zach on the guys super squad missed 3. And we ought to give a shout out really to Brandon Powell. You remember when we did that interview the evening before? I said, even Brandon could catch Zach, although I think Brandon was either 5 or 6 behind. He ended up 1 behind Zach. He really shot his heart out. He really did. So although he didn't win it, he put on a good show.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he shot really well. All right, Neil, thanks for coming on. I appreciate your time. You've always done a good job in everything that you put your hands on, and we look forward to, Nationals next year and I know I'll see you before then.
Yeah. All right, Justin. Thanks very much.
All right, we'll see you.